So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are in the world, and welcome, welcome, welcome again to this episode of Hit Talks Live. Hit Talks Live, the talk show which is all about having 8 speakers speaking for 8 minutes from whatever they wish to talk about from their heart. Inspiration, wisdom. 8 speakers, 8 minutes, and 8, the power of 8, infinity, harmony, balance, abundance, such a magical number. 4 women, 4 men, polarity, yin and yang, everything in flow. So this is what I love about Hit Talks. It's not just that the speakers that come onto Hit Talks are so absolutely amazing, but it is also that the balance of everything that is being put together here. And the key thing I find is that when we speak from the heart and when there is no agenda, then this is where we're raw and real, and this is where magic happens. So unlike many, many platforms out there, Hit Talks is all about speaking from whatever you want to speak about at the time. There is no agenda, there is no intentions. I don't tell the speakers what they have to talk about. The speakers don't know what everyone else is talking about, so they think, oh, I might overlay, which is absolutely perfect. The only thing I do actually guide about is the reason that I love Hit Talks is that it was a divine download. It was not created by Vicky Thomas. This was actually created by the divine. It was downloaded to do this. 8 people, 8 speakers, 8 minutes, and transformational messages of hope and inspiration. And then as that kind of came through as well, it was very much like, right, okay, let's put all this together and let's really create the magic. And I just have to say thank you for every single person. If this is your first episode, welcome, welcome, welcome. If this is your 9th episode, thank you so much for coming back every single time. And I know that many of you are coming back every single time. We have some amazing announcements later on at the end of this episode, so please do stay with us. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to bring on our first speaker, and our first speaker has been with Hit Talks and has been with me since I started Hit Talks, and love him so dearly. And Sanjeev is all the way in Boston, and I just love his inspirational stories and his inspirational messages. And Dr. Sanjeev Chopra, he's as well as just being a light and saying, every time we talk, he's like, I'm on top of the world. And I'm like, well, I'm on top of the universe. And then we're waving to each other. So thank you for being part of Hit Talks, Sanjeev, and sharing this next 8 minutes of inspiration with us. I now give you the floor.
So can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, so thank you. So you're right, this is my 9th Hit Talk. And in the previous ones, I've talked about leadership, about happiness and living with purpose, and other topics. And today I'm going to do something sort of radically different. I want you all to close your eyes and imagine yourself in the 9th century. You're in a small village in Ethiopia. And you actually are, or your brother is, a goat herd. You can open your eyes now. So you're a goat herd. Your name is Kaldi. You're in a small village called Kaffa. And you notice that the goats in one particular pasture are very frisky and animated. They're consuming these red-brown berries. So Kaldi makes a brew out of it, and he really enjoys it. There's a monastery nearby, and a monk walks by every evening. He looks at Kaldi and he scolds him. Kaldi, you have partaken of the devil's fruit. And Kaldi ignores him, and after a while, the monk says, can I try it? And when he tries it, he's able to stay up for the late night prayers. So this is the legend about coffee. Started in Ethiopia in the 9th century. In the year 1600, a group of well-meaning people petitioned Pope Clement VIII, saying this is truly the devil's drink and you need to ban it. And he said, before I ban it, let me taste it. And when he tasted it, instead he baptized it, proclaiming coffee is so good, the infidels should not have exclusive use of it. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm a professor of medicine at Harvard Medical School. My specialty is hepatology, liver disease. And some 20 years ago, I was fascinated reading an article that said coffee drinkers had lower levels of liver enzymes. So when you go see your primary care clinician once a year, they check your blood tests. They always check a battery of liver tests. So what does that mean? Maybe there's something in coffee, a metabolite that interferes with the assay. But the next study came and said coffee drinkers have less scarring of the liver. If you have lots of scarring, that's called cirrhosis. And that can lead to liver failure, the risk of developing liver cancer. So less scarring. And the next study came out, if you drink 2 cups of regular coffee a day, 50% reduction in hospitalization and mortality from chronic liver disease. Chronic liver disease afflicts 1.5 billion people in the world. Between alcoholic liver disease, chronic hepatitis B virus infection that afflicts 400 million, chronic hepatitis C, 200 million, and now a dominant disease in Western countries and even developing countries called non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. So it looks just like alcoholic liver disease under the microscope, but these people are not drinking alcohol. And who are these people? These are people with diabetes and obesity. The estimate is that in our country, in America, there are 100 million Americans afflicted with non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. We're starting to see fatty liver in 3-year-olds and even scarring in 16-year-olds. In the center I work at Harvard Medical School, it's the number 1 or 2 indication for liver transplantation, end-stage liver disease. So the liver is a fascinating organ. You know, in ancient Greek mythology, there's the story of Prometheus. He had stolen fire from the god Zeus, and the god was incensed and chained him to a rock. A vulture would come and devour his liver, but he wouldn't die because the liver would regenerate overnight. Regenerate, it's the only organ that fully regenerates. In fact, 10 to 15% of liver transplantations done in America are from a live donor, a sibling, a parent, even a dear friend. They give the entire right lobe, which is 60% of the liver volume. And then over the next year, when you do CAT scans, you can see the liver grow back right up to the right rib cage. And the 60% is sufficient in the recipient to sustain metabolic function and life. So it's an amazing organ, and I've always been fascinated about it, and that's why I went into this specialty. 2.25 billion cups of coffee are consumed every day worldwide. 2.25 billion. It's the number 1 beverage consumed in the world. Coca-Cola has seen the writing, and in 2019 bought Costa, a chain coffee shops all over Europe, for $5 billion. Pepsi's come on board. They're producing a beverage which is infused with coffee. So in addition to lowering the risk of cirrhosis, alcoholic liver disease, non-alcoholic steatohepatitis, the individuals who drink coffee have the least amount of scarring. But it also protects against type 2 diabetes, both in men and women. Here, even decaf coffee has these wonderful benefits. It protects against Parkinson's disease. It may have an effect on cognitive decline and Alzheimer's dementia. It lowers the incidence of gout, dental cavities, suicide, gallstones. It's better for kidney health and bone health. And then 7 common cancers: head and neck cancer, breast cancer, endometrial cancer, colon cancer, skin cancer, prostate cancer, and liver cancers. Truly, it is a super food. If we had a pill that did this, it'd be $1 trillion pill. These studies are published in peer-reviewed medical journals, validated, hundreds and thousands of patients, subjects, long-term follow-up. Now, if it has all these health benefits, the holy grail would be mortality. Do people who drink coffee have lower total mortality? And the first study appeared about 8 years ago in the New England Journal of Medicine. It's the premier medical journal in the world. I've received about 102 emails that morning from colleagues around the country, around the world. Sanjeev, you've been talking about coffee. You're finally vindicated. And now there are 4 other studies in, again, prestigious medical journals, Annals of Internal Medicine, Journal of the American Medical Association. Men and women who drink coffee have low total and cause-specific mortality. So regular coffee is better than decaf. If you want to put milk or sugar, go ahead and do it. Study from Europe, more than 500,000 subjects, 10 countries, they all drink their coffee differently. They make it differently, low total and cause-specific mortality. So the inflammatory markers that we can test for in the blood, one is called CRP, C-reactive protein. Another is called TNF-alpha. And coffee drinkers have low levels of CRP and TNF-alpha. There's something called plasma adiponectin. Low levels are linked with aggressive liver disease. Coffee drinkers have high levels. And finally, there's something called telomeres. You've heard of telomeres. They're at the end of our chromosomes. They protect fraying of chromosomes and chromosomes sticking to each other. It's a major landmark discovery. Elizabeth Blackburn, brilliant Australian scientist, and 2 other scientists got the Nobel Prize in Medicine or Physiology in 2009. Shortened telomeres are linked with accelerated cellular aging. Longer telomeres, you're going to live longer. And here's the very interesting story from the US Nurses Health Study published in 2017. Increased caffeine intake is linked with shortened telomeres. Increased coffee intake is linked with longer telomeres. It's not the caffeine. Coffee has 800 to 1,000 constituents, many of which in animal studies are found to be helpful. I had an interview about a year ago from a reporter in the United Kingdom. She said, Dr. Chopra, you write about coffee. You've written a book called The Big Five, 40 pages on coffee. I want to interview you, but specifically, I want to ask you about this shop in Adelaide, Australia, where the guy has a coffee and it's called Kick-Ass Coffee. Kick-Ass Coffee. It has 5 grams of caffeine in one drink. This drink, which I'm enjoying, of coffee, has 65 milligrams. It has 80 times the amount of caffeine. 10 grams is lethal. You'll die. He apparently takes a little history before serving you the coffee. He's not a doctor. And instead of kick-ass coffee, I said, you know what I would suggest? We term it kick the bucket coffee. People can die drinking this coffee. So I'm going to stop here. I've probably gone a little bit over 8 minutes because of the caffeine in this coffee. So cheers. Drink your coffee. Enjoy it. It's a superfood. My latest book, which I've just submitted to the literary agent, is going to be called Coffee, the Magical Elixir, Facts That Will Astound and Perk You Up. Cheers.
Thank you so much. Well, some people don't like the taste of coffee, as we can see in the chat here. I actually like dandelion coffee as well. And there's also that I do a lot of health things, as many of you know. But there's coffee enemas as well. So there's loads of different ways that coffee can be used. So amazing ways of actually having.
The bottom line is that there's no research on coffee enemas.
Well,
you get the pun? The bottom line. Okay.
So yeah, thank you so much, Sanjeev. Thank you. So let's just see what the research of coffee enemas are. Let's just do a little bit of research on that. It'll give us something to do. So we're going into 8 speakers for 8 minutes, and we have had some technical difficulties. So thank you again for everybody that's coming into the room now. This is recorded, and we will be editing all of this out and then making a real nice streamlined recording for everyone to have a copy of. But as we know, sometimes the universe has different plans for us. So thank you so much for being with us, and for all of you for emailing and keep trying and coming back in. So we are now coming on to our second speaker, and I really want to be able to, I love the way the Hit Talks is created, because it's created around about the energies of the day. And for you of us that's just joined us, we're saying about Hit Talks is about 8 speakers for 8 minutes from 8 different perspectives, 4 men, 4 women, polarity, balance, speaking from the heart with no agenda, and just really whatever comes through. And the one thing that we do have a little bit of guidance on is the energies of the day, which I'm going to talk about later on, because the energies of today are super powerful. And I really want Mark, who's one of our speaker guests, to actually speak a little bit more about that as well. I'm sure he's going to anyway, before I actually say something that's not totally correct. But I'm really pleased to actually have Amita again with us, Dr. Amita Chopra, who is, of course, Sanjeev's dear wife, and she has been part of Hit Talk since we started as well. And as well as her bio, you know, we put the bios up here so you can get an idea. But from me, when I meet the speakers from my heart, you know, they're just divine beings, and you know, the messages that they give out in these Hit Talks, the hope, the inspiration, and the transformation. And Amita loves unicorns as I love unicorns also. So it's great to have you here on this episode of Hit Talks. Again, Amita, thank you so much. And I'd like you to unmute yourself, and you now have the floor.
Hello, can you hear me?
You can.
Feel me? Can you feel me? Okay. So today, when I woke up, I had no idea what I was going to talk about. And so I said, I'm speaking today, but why am I speaking? What is the purpose of this speech here? So I decided that I will speak about the purpose of speech. So there is a beautiful verse in the Upanishad that begins like this. It says, you are the deep driving desire, what your deep driving desire is. You are what your deep driving desire is. As is your desire, so is your will. As is your will, so is your deed. And as is your deed, so is your destiny. It's from the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. So everything in creation really arises as that fine, deep desire, which is an intention. And then this intention gets converted to a thought. Now the thought is in the beginning, it is unmanifest, it's amorphous, it's very, very subtle. But then as it starts to rise through the higher levels, more superficial levels of subconscious mind, then it reaches the conscious mind, and then it bursts forth outside that conscious mind as a thought, as a spoken word then. So the spoken word, which is one of the most powerful things this world ever has to offer, the spoken word is the very first expression of a very powerful impulse of life. So then what is the purpose of speech? And our guru, Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, who founded the Transcendental Meditation Society, or the program, he always said this, and it never left us. The purpose of speech is to create bliss in the listener. So what are the elements that one needs to create bliss in the listener? So there are 5 of them. The first thing is that you have to have right speech. Second, it has to be clear and precise. Third, it has to be powerful. Fourth, it has to be pleasing and harmonious. And lastly, it has to be purposeful. So when I say right speech, what is right speech? Right speech means it has to be evolutionary, it has to be progressive, it needs to flow without any kind of resistance. And it must help not only the listener, but it must also help the speaker. It mustn't ever harm anybody. And this only happens when it comes from a field of consciousness, when one is naturally aligned with nature, all the laws of nature. Then everything you do will be the spontaneously right speech, the spontaneously right action. The second element is clear and precise speech. The clarity comes from knowing your subject thoroughly. So when you know what you're talking about, that's very, very important. And the second element here is simplicity and innocence. It just comes innocently and simply from the heart. And this only happens when you are in that source of thought. Because when you are in the source of thought, which is deep inside you, you are now in the now, which is what everybody calls being in the moment. So you've left the past behind. There are no regrets of the past here. You've left the future alone because there is no anxieties and fears. And when you speak from a place where there is no fear or anxiety, then the light of consciousness shines right through your speech. The third element I talked about is powerful speech. And the best way to explain this is the analogy that is often used, and the analogy is that of an arrow. So when you take an arrow, string it to the bow, and then you pull it back all the way, and it's fully pulled back. At that point, it is still, it is fully rested, but it has the maximum potential behind it. And so also, when you pull your mind back into the self, fully pull it back into the self, then every thought that you have, every action that you perform, every speech that you give will have the maximum power. The next thing is harmonious and pleasing pleasing speech. And this only happens when speech arises from a loving heart and a cultured mind. The art of speaking pleasantly only happens, and it comes from cultivating politeness, softness of the heart and of the mind. And so this, when you fill your heart and mind with love and compassion, that's when your thoughts become powerful and your speech becomes powerful. Your thoughts have to be nonviolent, born, like I said, of simplicity and innocent, but your thoughts must also be truthful but tactful. So you speak the truth, but you speak the sweet truth. And I'll tell you the story of the diplomat. Somebody asked at a gathering, so what is the definition of a diplomat? And one wise guy said, a diplomat is the person who says, when he says yes, he means maybe. When he says maybe, he means no. And when he says no, he ain't no diplomat. So simple and truthful expressions are what produce the most desirable effects. And the last one is speaking purposefully. So the purpose, if the purpose of speech is to bring out perfection in action, and then that action is the action that is performed without any attachment to the fruit of the action. This is the very key principle, which is the founding principle of the Bhagavad Gita, which is one of the most important textbooks ever written on earth. And what it is that of action, performing action without attachment to the fruit of the action. So when we work from that place where we are not working from the ego, but we are working from the authentic self, we are performing that speech and performing that action, which doesn't carry forward our goal or will. It really is carrying forward the divine will. That's when magic happens in your speech. And all of these elements come together. All these 5 elements that I talked about come together when you have a joyful, energetic body, when you have a loving, compassionate heart, when you have a clear and reflective mind, and when you have that lightness of being, when the light of consciousness shines through you. You can only achieve all of these elements when you are in touch with yourself, which happens only through meditation. So thank you for listening to me. Namaste, and let the magic happen.
Thank you so much, Amita. Thank you. It is, as I say, it's making the magic happen. And, we're even saying the same words all the time. Everyone that becomes part of Hit Talks and comes back episode after episode, I promise you that your vocabulary will change. You will start going out saying hope, inspiration, transformation all the time. You will then definitely be constantly saying amazing, and then you'll be talking about the word magic all the time, even maybe unicorns. You never know. You never know. But thank you so much. And it's just so important about the connection that we have with ourselves, but the connection that we have with others. And the reason, again, I have to keep reiterating, the reason that Hit Talks has been so powerful and where it is going, which I can't announce just yet, but where it is going to be so powerful, again, is because of the connections of the speakers. Because I believe that you meet people for a reason. And then when you meet somebody, you might spend a little bit of time with them, you might spend a lot of time with them, you might just say hi, and then they might just be, in a different world, in a different country, and then you carry on with life. That's life. You just carry on and on your journey. But then when you reconnect with people, that you reconnect with them for a reason. That perhaps it's a message that you've seen on social media, or for me, it's actually in my meditations, as Amita was saying, that I get divine downloads about reaching out to people. And many of the speakers that come onto Hit Talks have become our friends, are people that I have met, but it's also come from divine downloads. And then it's also come from, as I say, seeing a social media post, being connected with somebody, saying, oh my gosh, I've just been on the Hit Talks episode, you need to be the next speaker there. Let's start, sharing this. I truly believe, and I know that I would say every person here on this live episode and watching the replay do believe in the words together is better, and do believe in the words unity. And we do believe in doing things together as a collective. Gone are the days of competition. Gone are the days of trying to stamp on people and say, oh, I'm better than them, and all the rest of them. Gone are the days of ego. Now is the time for us to actually start sharing, working together, speaking from the heart. And this brings me on to my next speaker, because this was a conversation that we've recently had about, how we've had to get rid of, we've been around people with a huge amount of ego, and how we've had to kind of, work on getting rid of ego from our corporate days. And, and Eric is such a divine soul as well. He does so much in the world. And, when you're connected with people for the right reasons, about togetherness, he does talk shows, he does podcasts, a great marketer. But on top of that, every time we speak, he'll always say something like, thank you for that, that's made me think. And then he'll say something and I'll say, thank you for that, that's made me think, because we're all trying to do what we can in the world, but also do it together. So Eric, I'd like to thank you for being part of Hit Talks. And I'd like to give you your 8 minutes for you to be able to share your 8 minutes of hope, inspiration, and transformation from wherever you want to share it from.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Vicky, for all of that. And I am truly happy and humbled to be here with you fine folks. Absolutely beautiful collective here. Souls, I just felt the energy when we came in, and how, we all sort of came together, even though with technical difficulties, we're all here together. No one's judging, no one's caring. It's just, we're here together. We're here to win together. So I wanted to tell the story about something that happened to us recently, where we were hosting an event. Actually, we weren't hosting, we were part of this large event. About 500 people were in attendance. And my team had a makeshift podcast studio off to the side. And we were inviting people who were attending the event to come and sit and experience being on a show. And oftentimes people were very open to it. But occasionally people would say, I don't know, what will I talk about? Or I'm not comfortable with that. But one person in particular, his name is Edwidge. He said, I don't think I have a story to tell. I don't know if I'm going to be interesting. So my team convinced him to have a seat. It's going to be 15 to 20 minutes. And trust us, you'll enjoy yourself, and you do have a story to tell. And I came after the interview, and I saw this huge glowing smile on his face. He was so happy. And the team around him was so happy and proud of him for sharing his story. And what he said was truly magical to me was, I didn't know I had so much to share, and I didn't know that I had so much to offer. So that was so powerful to me that I realized we need to do more of this. We need to start giving people the platform and the tools in order to share their story. Each and every one of us have a story to share with the world. We have an offering, we have value that we want to give to people's lives and within their business. And one of the ways that I really love to help people is to give them the proper tools and exercises in order to share that story in a way that's succinct, in a way that is truly engaging and relatable. And I distilled this over the course of many years of my experience and my partner's experiences into something that we call the 4 C's. So the 4 C's are basically, these are things, and maybe I could put this in the chat for later so that you can refer back to it. But the 4 C's are basically clarity, community, connection, and collaboration. So I'll say that again: clarity, community, connection, and collaboration. And this is very linear. So you'll be able to follow and remember this as you move forward in your business and in your life. So if you have a message to tell on these podcasts, and as most of you may know, podcast is probably one of the, if not the largest growing source of media there is to date. It's massive. There are over 1 million podcasts that are out there, and there are so many ways for you to share and to get on these shows. And one of the quick statistics here is, and on average, 45% of podcast listeners enjoy more than a $250,000 annual household income. So this is the audience that we want to talk to. These are the people that are willing and ready to invest in you and in their own business. So when you do get on other people's shows and on other people's platforms, don't forget that is a gift that is given to us to be a guest on someone's show, because now you have access to their community. This is a gift that Vicky is giving us in terms of now we have access to her community, the people that know, love, and adore her, or I love to say know, like, and trust her. So now all of us as a community and a collective here trust each other automatically through Vicky. How powerful is that? So when you do get on a platform and you start to share your message, make sure that it's clear. Make sure your message is crystal clear, and that you explain and you share your story in a way that people understand and relate and want to engage with you. Once you start to shout that message from the mountaintops and it's very clear and it's consistent, you're going to start to notice people are going to gather. People are going to reach out. People are going to want to connect and collaborate with you. So that builds a community of people. This community, as we see here, and this is I love the fact that we're all here together, because this is a prime example of what I'm saying, and I'm distilling it and breaking it down. How it's built is, once your clarity of message is out there and everyone is paying attention, you have a community of people. So what you want to do is keep fostering, keep engaging in your community and providing love, support, and how you shared and how you've coped with what's happening currently, or how you fallen and picked yourself back up, and what you've learned from those mistakes or failures. So once your community starts to understand, wow, this person is human, this person is someone that I want to be around because they're vulnerable, they're open, and I want to be a part of a community like that, you're going to start to make connections, which is the 3rd C, right? So clarity, community, and then connection. So then when you have that connection, how do you connect the dots, right? How do you see through the fog of all the opportunities and all the people that are around you now? Because now people want to work with you and they want to get more of your time. So how do you identify the movers and the shakers, the people that you could potentially start pushing ideas and creating with? And that leads me to collaboration. So then once you start to find out that this is the person, this is the 3, 4, 5 individuals that I love and adore and I trust at this point, which you found through the community that you built, is someone I want to collaborate with, is someone I want to build something with, is someone that I want to continue working with because I just enjoy their energy and I want to be around them all the time. And that truly fosters an environment that don't we all want to be a part of? We all want to create and connect and collaborate and share. And that's how I've realized over the course of years of being an entrepreneur, because I came from corporate America, 20 plus years in corporate America, grinding and hustling and trying to make it up the corporate ladder. When I finally got there, I realized, oh my God, this is a glass ceiling. What am I doing? I'm never going to get past this ceiling. It's designed this way. And I realized if I wanted to ever experience financial freedom, if I ever wanted to experience doing something and building legacy wealth for me and my family, I need to do something else. I need to stop building and creating for others and build and create for myself. So that's when this clarity, community, connection, and collaboration really came to me somewhat recently. And I started to share this within my community. And it's really, really a powerful way to figure out how to start sharing your stories through podcasting, through blogs, through networking. And I know it's difficult now, especially to communicate and connect through this. But I say, continue doing this, do more and more and more of this, and find communities and people that can help you in what you're trying to do and really, really align with your goals and your vision, because now more than ever, we need each other to start building and growing together. And like Vicky said, there's no agendas. There is no you versus me. This is all, there's abundance here, and there's more than enough for all of us to share and create and help one another and connect the right person to the right people. Because if I can't help you, I am sure I will find someone and know someone that can help you in what you're trying to accomplish. And that is my time. I think I actually have 20 seconds left, but I just want to thank Hit Talks and the team behind Vicky, and Vicky, of course, for being an absolute wonderful person, host, truly somebody that we should all be around more often. And again, thank you all for the time and for the energy, and I appreciate and love you all.
Oh, thank you so much, Eric. But I want you to go back. I really want the know, the love, and the adore. Adore. Come on, it sounds a lot better. Come on. But no, we can add another C onto that. And I use the words, well, it's not C, it's S, synchronicity. But the synchronicity, you know, as we were talking, you know, you talking about the four C's, and then they're saying that there isn't any competition. And that's the thing. So it's zero competition, and it is about working together. I remember it was 2 years ago. You have to give me a thumbs up. I'm sure it was over 2 years ago that I was on your Entrepreneur Circle podcast. You know, and this is the thing. I do believe that everything that goes around comes around when we live in a place of abundance, when we live in a place of gratitude, when we live in a place of actually serving and working together. You know, it is totally different than, I'm sure many of us know, as you know, in corporate America, and, you know, I know from my corporate world here in the UK and things, it is totally, totally different. And this brings me on to our next speaker. And we talk about collaboration because, you know, Valerie has such a heart, and the collaboration was very much about just women working together. Now, I know from my corporate days is that, you know, women, it was just like, oh, she's doing this. And I remember the hashtag bitchy days. And, you know, this has started to kind of disappear. And, you know, Valerie and I and my good friend Veronica, you know, we're always doing things together and supporting each other. And I'm speaking on her stage when she was doing the Independent Woman Summit, which she's still doing, and that as well. And this is the thing, that when you're able to share, when you're able to do things together in collaboration with the common good of literally spreading love, spreading hope, inspiration, and transformation, as I say, I do believe that is when magic happens. So I know that Valerie is now currently in Poland, and I'd like to say thank you so much for being here, Valerie. If you'd like to unmute yourself and bring yourself to the floor, you may take your 8 minutes.
Thank you very much for inviting me and creating such an amazing space for everybody for sharing the truth. So hello everyone, and I noticed that I'm like was introduced like I'm in United Arab Emirates, and I did live in Dubai, and I want to say, like, take the time and say to all those who are celebrating Eid, and people maybe who are watching, who will be watching, just to say that I wish you happy Eid, and that it's time for reconnecting with the family, with the friends, and just experience this magical moment. And also, you know, as all of the speakers today, I was thinking, oh my gosh, what I'm going to share. This is just like 8 minutes, and you need to share from your heart. And there are so many topics going on all around. And the reason for that, I believe, is because we have so much, like, incredible amount of information. This flow is like overflowing. And if in the past people who had the access to information were the ones who were, let's say, ruling the world, then nowadays it's more about not access to the information, but the ability to process this information. it is great to have this power and having access to learning so much. But at the same time, I believe that we are like generation, or we are living in the time when it's so incredibly hard to unplug and really realize what is important for us. And I see that, like, I work with a lot of women, and yes, as Vicky mentioned, I'm a founder of Independent Women. By the way, as a disclaimer, it is not a feminist organization. We do embrace men, we embrace fruitful relationships, but it's all about giving women the power to start creating the world based on their own terms and conditions. That's why I was thinking that today I would like to share about creating your own world. I know that nowadays a lot of people coming out and even writing to me and Sally saying, "Do you have a job? Can you employ me?" And a lot of crazy things are happening. But instead of like putting ourselves in this panic and following this kind of flow of frustration, I think it's important to take time and realize who we really are. And creation of your own world, I'm not talking about this kind of creating an egoistic space. I'm talking about creating your own ecosystem and environment. Because look at this, we are here, 23 people who are sharing, and we have our own world that is rich, that is full of stories, as Eric, previous speaker, mentioned, who have a lot of power inside. But it's all about what we put inside and how we are nurturing this. So basically, if we start from asking ourselves important questions, and number one question, who am I? Not what people expect from me, not what people want me to be, like starting from our childhood parents, maybe our colleagues or our friends, or what is society wants from us. Because I was living in Dubai, it's beautiful, amazing space, but at the same time there are things that people like put kind of perception, what you're supposed to be, what is success means to particular people. And if you are considered to be successful, then they want to work with you, and maybe you also face this. But it's really who you are, taking this time and answering this question to yourself, why you were born. And I know there are the whole cultures, and I am Korean, I know what does it mean to like be part of a particular culture, particular traditions, what family reputation means. And people often say, hey, you're supposed to be this and you're supposed that, you're supposed to follow this kind of guidelines. For example, I have an artistic nature. In fact, I'm a ballroom dancer, and I dedicated most of my life to that. But my parents actually also sent me to a business school in order, I know they wanted the best for me, but many of you were facing this kind of thing when somebody who wished you the best were trying to put you in a space where you're not really belong. So nowadays, when we're facing all these changes and transformation in this world, it's time to really answer the question and really say, I was not born to or meant to struggle, to experience pain, or to go through any kind of struggle, even though the biggest transformation comes through crisis. I was born to be happy, to be wealthy, and to experience mega success in this life. Because when we start to feed our mind with this kind of attitude, our energy and our capacity to grow and feed our, let's say, nurture our communities, our businesses, and whatever surrounding us, like expanding our world. And when we are starting to communicate with each other, we already communicate on a completely different level, the level of abundance, let's say. And when you really realize who you really are, why you was born, you found out your mission, the next important question to ask is, what do you really want? I think a lot of people can relate that sometimes there are expectations from, for example, me as a woman. I'm supposed to be an incredible leader. I'm supposed to have successful business that brings income. I'm also supposed to be a great mother, a great wife, have this really sorted out household, and. and nobody really thinking that it can be overwhelming and maybe it does not belong to me, and there are another kind of things I want to accomplish in this life. And when you really truly answer to this question, what do you as a human being, as you truly are, want, a lot of things started to unfold in your life, a lot of opportunities start to come in your life. And when this third very important question come to you is, like, now you have all your this world, you know who you are, you know what you want, and maybe you are still not on the position that where you want to be. So the very important question is actually, how does it feel to be a person whom you want to be? For example, if you have greater goals, and talking about from the athletic background, if we have kind of achievement, it's not that we're settled down or we achieved any kind of title. It's always we want more, we want to go to the next level, we want to go to the next stage, we want to develop. So the question that I'm asking myself every single day is, how does it feel, what the Valerie of the future, the Valerie that wants to have this next level feel? And then when you are shifting your mindset and think from this kind of perspective, you will find all necessary tools. You will equip yourself with necessary knowledge. And maybe the reason why you are like we are all together, maybe you will find the answer for any question that is nowadays like constantly popping up in your mind. And also what is very important to add to that is that, very often we just want to have something immediately, especially people who are like cholerics like me, like I need to move fast, I want to have very fast this transformation and make things happen. But what is important to do is do your work, because sometimes people set huge goals for themselves, but they are not ready to move forward. But you can't really win before you start training. First, you have to do a specific job, do specific kind of work, go through specific transformation before you will get to this level or to this point in life where you really want to be. That's why with this speech, I just wanted to bring kind of glimpse of inspiration to really come back to yourself, to really reconnect with your inner rebel, and rebel not from the perspective of like, sometimes we're like, as the teenagers, we want to do something against rules, engage on system, but the rebel that is going against of these kind of systems or against some kind of outside factors and voices that are trying to shut down and shut up us as we are human beings. So just really, there's a lot of pretty much sure during these HIT talks, speakers were sharing like meditation, like really breathing techniques. And I want to share with you at the end just one breathing technique that I found absolutely incredible to reconnect, especially if you are, jumping from one call to another call, or for example, if you live in one space and in this space you're like eating, and then you do 2 steps and now you're already in the business meeting, and then in 3 steps you're already with your child because you are in lockdown or like self-isolating yourself. This technique calls 1 minute breath. What does it give? It gives you really reconnection with yourself. Some people find it really challenging because it connects with the panic when people can't truly breathe. But I'm inviting you to start from this kind of minimum as you can. It can be 8 seconds, it can be 20 seconds, but really try to reach out this 1 minute. So basically what you need to do is, and I invite everybody to do that, you take a really deep breath in, and normal should be 30 seconds. A very deep 30 seconds breathe in. If you find this challenging, that as I said, it can be 8 seconds, it can be 10 seconds, it can be 15 seconds. So do it now. And ideally, also during the next 30 seconds after the breath in, you should do the breathe out. The power and magic of this breathing technique is that your brain starts to vibrate on a completely different level. You will feel that you are much more grounded. You will feel that you reconnect with who you truly are. And if you find, as myself, multitasking sometimes, and it's not the best thing to do, but as a working mom, you're constantly juggling with a lot of things, this kind of technique that is really helping. And oh my gosh, I don't know how many minutes I was speaking about, so I will just want to say a couple of words. Thank you very much, Vicky, one more time. Thank you to all beautiful speakers who were sharing wisdom, and there are a few speakers are coming. And thank you for all attendees and participants for being here, sharing your time and investing in yourself to become the amazing version of yourself. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Valerie. Yes, thank you. Breathing techniques. You know, we've had some breathwork experts on here and so many different breathwork techniques. And Veronica and I were only talking about it earlier on today, about the power of the breath. And I'm sure everybody knows the power of the breath, but how often do we use it? How often do we, you know, we say, well, I haven't got the time. And as Valerie said, it's perhaps only 1 minute. And I do it for my meditations. I do it quite often. And as I shared earlier on, before people came into the room, I had a small tattoo yesterday for a very special treat and a very special day. And if I didn't have my breathwork techniques, I was just thinking, oh my gosh. So it is, it's all talking about, you know, it's all about using the tools that we have. It is all about using the tools that we have. And when we talk about using the tools that we have, it's understanding that all the tools that are out there are actually free. They're around us. And this is the thing, our breath is there. Our breath is free. Our breath is around us. And the energies. Now, anybody that knows me on Hit Talks, I love talking about energies of the day. I love talking about the power of the energies that we have around us. As a quantum healer practitioner and working with the quantum field and with balance, you know, the energies are really super important to me. And I've been embodying energies for, well, since I definitely daily for the last 3 years. And then when you do embody the energies, when you're actually there feeling about the power that you've got that day, and you might be having a down day, you might be having a bit of a sickness day, you might have not been feeling too good that day, or you might just have a real powerful day. But when you understand the energies of what you're in that day, then it can actually support you to what you're doing. I found it absolutely magical. And the power of Hit Talks as well, not just being the power of just it being a divine download, the power of 8, the power of infinity, the power of the 4 women, the power of the 4 men. It's also the power of the energies of the days that we actually have Hit Talks on as well. You'll see that they slightly change. And today's energy is all about rebirth. It's all about, you know, birthing something new and something exciting that was happening. And there was something that I really wanted to share with all the speakers here and all the viewers today, but you're going to have to wait to the next episode because I can't actually legally share it with you yet. So you'll have to wait for the next one. So this is why we were actually having this on the power of rebirth. And we talk about energies, and we talk about powers, and we talk about rebirths. That Hit Talks was created around the ancient Mayan. And for people that aren't on here that know much about that, we have a master in the house, which I'm absolutely so excited to have him here to share his 8 minutes with us. I think we might need 80 minutes, but however, we only have 8 minutes just for this talk. And Mark's in Guatemala, and as well as being a double day keeper and also being a fellow Brit as well. So he doesn't have to speak to me in Spanish where I can't understand. He can speak to me in my mother tongue, which is absolutely amazing. But he is just full of knowledge. And I know he's also going to be a man that can't keep to his 8 minutes because he's got so much knowledge and wisdom inside of him. So we do honest inner truth conversations after this with all the speakers, where we can dive down deep more into what they do. So Mark, thank you so much for actually being part of Hit Talks, and I can't wait for you to share with us what you need to share with us today. And I now give you your 8 minutes, my friends.
Well, thank you, Vicky. Thank you, everybody. Can you hear me okay? Cool. Okay. So obviously this is my first time on Hit Talks, and you know, in the week I thought, well, I'll do a bit of research and see what other people are doing. I've gone back and looked over what other people have done. And they said, yeah, you know, this is coming from the heart. This is for right now. And I'm like, oh, okay, it's unscripted, right? Okay, great. Let's go with that then. Because quite honestly, hopefully that's the way I usually work best. So my name's Mark. I'm originally from Ipswich in Suffolk in the UK. And I moved here to Guatemala around about 12 years ago. And what brought me here was the Sacred Mayan calendar. It's been a passion of mine for about 22 years or so, and I've been very deeply involved in it. And when I came here, I was meeting with the elders. I've been initiated as a Mayan daykeeper. It was about 5 years ago that I received my sacred bundle. So I'm kind of living it. That's what I do. And when I was thinking about what to talk to you all about today, what came through was timing, sacred timing. And the first thing that came to mind was this joke, actually. It was kind of like this thing, what's the secret of comedy? Timing. And to see how important the way that we time our words, the way that we time our actions is. And I was thinking, there was a friend of mine over in England, and a couple of years ago, he decided that he was going to do a charity swim across the English Channel from Dover to Calais. And he's a strong swimmer. He does triathlons and all of those kind of things. And, you know, it's a lot more than I could do. But what it came down to was the absolute timing of the swim. Because you need to go out on the high tide, so the tide carries you out, and then you need to get to the middle of the English Channel, I suppose, about 6 hours into the tide carries you back the other way. However that. So you've got to like have the tide with you, because it doesn't matter how strong a swimmer you are. If your timing is wrong, it doesn't work. And I see this in the calendar. I see this in everything. This morning, I've actually been up since about 3 a.m. I very much appreciated Sanjeev's talk on coffee. I enjoy coffee. I live in a coffee plantation. So, you know, this is a very good thing. But at 3 a.m., I decided I wanted to get up and take photographs of, well, it ended up being the Orion Nebula. There are two things involved in there, both regarding navigation. Firstly, I have to be pointing the axis of my scope in the right way so it's hitting true north. And secondly, I have to know what time this constellation is going to rise. So if I went out on the wrong day, it wouldn't be in the sky, even if I was aligned to true north. Or if I went out at the right time, but I was aligned incorrectly geographically, I wouldn't be able to get the photographs I want. Now, you might be wondering why I'm talking about all of these, but what I see through my work is that these calendars help us to navigate time. They help us to navigate our life path. They help us to understand exactly when to apply our energy in the direction to give the result we wish to achieve. And this is critical. Now, right now, today, it's kind of ironic for my first appearance on Hit Talks, I think, is the day of the new birth. This is a day one can walk in the calendar that we use down here. And it's a rebirthing, it's the initiation of the birth process. It's a renewal. Now, interestingly enough, this calendar that I work with, it works in 13-day cycles. The last 13-day cycle, which ended yesterday, was the cycle of death. And so we get death followed by rebirth, literally laid out in this calendar. And this calendar is a cycle of evolution. Now, a dear friend of mine earlier in the year, we were talking about some things, and he said, you know, when something happens, often we can't go back to what was before, but we lament it, we pine about it, we grieve for it. And I think there's many of us this year in particular grieving for what it was, what we had, how things used to be. Now, the truth is, it's unlikely that we'll ever go back to exactly how things used to be. We get used to this phrase, the new normal. And in some ways, we feel like it's a series of restrictions that have been put on us. Oh, we can't do that now because of this, because of that. But the interesting thing is that not only does the calendar that I work with have a 13-day cycle and a 260-day cycle, it also has a 52-year cycle. And what we're seeing now is a reflection of 1968 in one way or another. And this cycle, what we see, is that time, yes, it's kind of linear, but it's more of a spiral fashion. That's the way that most elders will describe it, rather than being a straight line going from A to B. It's a spiral that has a kind of repeating section to it. So when we understand where it's going to repeat, we can understand just what time to jump on that ride or jump off the ride if that's what we want to do as well. So getting back to this idea that we're in a time of rebirth, we couldn't hold on to what was going on behind us. In some ways, we didn't need to, we didn't want to. I mean, there was a lot of good things going on there, but there's also some things that maybe weren't so good, that we've had the opportunity to drop off. We've had this time, this space by ourselves in our home, with our families maybe, that we don't normally get that much time with our families. We can treat it as a blessing. We can treat it as a time of introspection, where we can understand what to reinvent. And now, right now, this day, it's a day of new birth, a day of letting go of what we left behind. The last 13 days, maybe you found there were some fairly harsh things happening in the last 13 days as you released the stuff that, quite frankly, you didn't really need to be carrying anymore anyway. And now it's time to put our best foot forward. Now is the time to engage with that birth process, what you're going to initiate to take you through in the next 260 days. So, as with everything, we can look at it in a positive or negative manner. We might have been waiting for this opportunity to birth into reality what it is truly within us. This is the other thing that I find about this calendar. It helps to show us, as Valerie was saying before me, who am I? Helps us to know and understand what lessons we came here with. Excuse me, I actually put a timer on for myself. What lessons we came here with, what direction to follow. It's our map for our life path. And that life path is one that our soul chose when we came in. And slowly it gets overwritten by teachers and parents and governments who want us to be this, who want us to be that. When we start identifying the truth of our navigation, when we start navigating time in the correct manner, that's when the magic of our transformation can really come out. So thank you all for listening to me. Thank you to everybody involved. Thanks for Vicky for having me on. And I hope that was useful to you.
More than welcome, Mark. More than welcome. What am I again? T-Jax. T-Hash, yes.
It's the obsidian blade.
I know. Do you know, I bought a necklace as well, but my daughter actually fell in love with it. So the obsidian blade necklace, my daughter fell in love with it and now she has it. So I was like, okay. So thank you so much, Mark. And yeah, it's very much one thing that if anybody wants to know a little bit more about the Mayan calendar and what Mark does, it's something that is really, really strong to every single cell in my body. It's something that I've embodied. It's something that it really does make a difference, because we are all energy, aren't we? And as my husband says to me, it can't hurt, can you? It's just, you know, if you believe in magic, then that's absolutely perfect. So as I say, it is energy and it doesn't hurt. Absolutely amazing when you start to embody it and you start to understand it. So I would like to take the floor to another speaker that is with us quite often, quite often. I love his storytelling, and he's been part of Hit Talks many, many times. And again, he speaks from the heart, just as we're supposed to, but he speaks to the heart. And then sometimes I'm just like, are you sure you haven't researched that? Are you sure you haven't written all that out? But being an American screenwriter, a director, a producer, an actor, and everything that he does in his day-to-day world, then the storytelling is part of his DNA. It's part of what he was here to do. Perhaps in the Mayan calendar. Hey, Rick. So, Rick, thank you so much for being here, my friend, and I now give you your 8 minutes.
Well, thank you, Vicky, for having me on the show. When I hear my past accomplishments, I go, wow, I'm very tired. And so what I look at is what happened this morning was chaos. And I've sat there and said, what was the word? And the word before I woke up this morning actually was chaos. I always think before I do these, I said, I'll never write a speech or do anything like that. I've done plenty. And I said, I'll just let whatever voice I hear tell me something. And I always believe the voice you hear is almost a divine voice. It's a voice that is a quiet voice that is there to tell you lessons. It's there to guide you. It's there to speak to you. Now you have two choices. You either hear the voice or you don't hear the voice, or you put enough things in your life to make it so you can't hear a voice. And when that voice happens, you need to listen. And so part of that is recognition. And I love all these speakers because it's almost like when you think of it, this is quite a miracle that we're all able to hear different people from different parts of the world. That could never happen. I told Vicky the other day, I said, do you realize in the 15th century, we would both be considered witches and they'd burn us? And she said, yes. And Vicky would probably be burnt first because she's far more of a witch than I am and speaks that way. Me, I'm a reluctant spiritual person. I always have been. I've never searched for anything. It just seems to knock on my door. And I'm actually very hard I don't listen to that voice. I many times fight against the voice. I became a writer because I did a show with Whoopi Goldberg years ago, and they hired her and me. And all of a sudden she said, if you write, you'll stay on the show longer. And I said, well, I'll write. And she knew the same thing. She was an African-American woman, I'm Mexican-American. And on this show in Hollywood at that time, they didn't need any of our ethnicity at all. In fact, everyone was beyond white. I mean, it was way up there. And so I started to write. And then I got to Hollywood and I said, oh, I'm an actor. I'm not going to write anymore. And my neighbor says, you should write. And I said, really? He goes, yeah. We went to we shared a mailbox. I was renting a guest house from him. I go to the mailbox and he has a residual check from the WGA. It comes in green packet. The green means money. So he was very happy. And mine came from a show I'd written. There was a play in Canada. And I opened the check and it was like $670 royalty check. And I was so proud. And I said, look at this. I'm an international playwright. So proud. He opened his check. It was $36,000. And he said, look at this. I'm a TV writer. And I said, how do I do what you do? It ends up, he was the president of the Writers Guild of America, John Wells. And Whoopi Goldberg, John Wells, told me to be a writer. And it took two people to actually start to make me think of writing. And I started thinking about that I did with that exercise, and Amit has done before with meditation and spoken about. And you still your mind for a moment, you'll hear that voice. And it's a clear but quiet voice. And you need to get a way to hear it. Vicky once told me I should walk on grass and dance a bit or something like that, which I thought was totally ridiculous. But I said, and normally when I think something's ridiculous, I go, oh yeah, that sounds good, and just don't do it. So I thought about it afterwards. I went, she was right. She was right. Nature is what grounds us. Nature, in many ways, is what we forgot. And in this pandemic, when you think about it, what is happening? Nature is coming back. Nature is coming back in different ways. In Venice, there's, dolphins in the Venice canals, and all these different things are happening. And in LA, it is cleaner weather. I mean, cleaner. I can breathe easier. Oddly enough, I didn't realize how that was such a difficulty until this happened. So in that chaos, you know, I heard a voice. And even today, when all of a sudden I couldn't get on the hit talk, and all these things were happening, and my wife was helping me, and all these people it was chaos. Oh my Lord! Right now, Vicky is calling on me, and I'm not on the hit talk. I know it. I'm causing all this stress and problems, and I'm beating myself up over it, and I'm saying this is horrible. And then within a while, I get kicked off of Zoom, and all these 1,000 things happen, and I turn it on, and there's Vicky, apologizing to people that, hey, the passwords didn't work, all these different things were happening. And I sat there and said, oh, there was no chaos. There was a plan. And if you relax and you take a moment and trust, because when you hear that small voice, many times it is trust. It's faith. Now I'm a writer. I've been a writer for many years. I do a show called Latino Thought Makers. I was just doing a film in Lake Tahoe with Mario Lopez, where I played a Santa character of all things. The only film being shot during a pandemic was ours. And on that set, 3 people came down with COVID. 3. But they wore masks and they didn't spread it. And to me, it told me, wait a minute, science does work. I had much more respect for Sanjeev and Amita and people like that. And I realized we're in a country in America right now, we're not recognizing science. We're almost in a cultish atmosphere. And I'm being outside of it. And I realized that my voice is still important. All our voices are important. And your guys' voices are important. The speakers are here. And the people that aren't speaking but are listening is just as important. Because if a speaker speaks, he has to have an audience that listens. And as Amita talked about, the pure simplicity of truth in speaking. The simplicity. It is simple. Most of everything anyone was going to listen to in this TED Talk and the HIT Talk and all the other talks out there will come down to a few ideas, really simple ideas. Love your neighbor, love yourself, love God. Idea of community. And in this chaos that we're sensing now, and we are sensing it, and even this chaos this morning, it still worked out fine. I got to speak, we all got to listen. It all worked out. That is the divine promise that goes out to all people. When they talk about, and I'll use the Bible reference of Noah and the flood, God promised a rainbow to the world to say he would never do that again. And that became a sign, a rainbow. And now rainbows are signs for people being free of prejudice and hate, as in the LGBTQ movement and things like that. I think a rainbow is beautiful. I think after a storm is a rainbow. And after the storm that we're in right now, there will be a rainbow. And I think I see what everyone is saying, that this is an opportunity. It's not a problem. It's not a plague. It's not all these things. It's an opportunity. After the Black Plague in Europe came the restoration. What is it? Michelangelo, all those people came from that era. I was just teaching my daughter, so this is amazing. I just forgot this right now. But see, I'm forgiving myself. Chaos, it's okay. I'm getting past chaos. The truth is, all lives are chaos. Great things happen from chaos. When a volcano blows up on the bottom of the Pacific Ocean and grows and grows and grows, it becomes Hawaii. That chaos becomes Hawaii. All these things that happen, revolutions, plagues, all these things, all those chaos comes renewal and rebirth. And if this is now the time of rebirth that we're seeing, then I would ask all of us to think, what world do we want? What world do we want to create? Because it's up to us. And listen to that small voice. And if you listen to that small voice inside your soul, inside your things, and the people that bring it to you and all that, you will find growth from this chaos. And that is my time. Namaste. Which I learned from Sanjeev. So that was my.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, Rick. Well, now I know that when I say to you that you need to do things, you just agree with me. So now I know from all of the chaos that when you thought Hit Talks was yesterday and not today, that this chaos is transferring into this day. But how amazing, you know, when we're talking about the chaos, it's embracing the chaos, isn't it? How amazing, you know, we can embrace the chaos, because I have to say, with all the initial problems that we had with the Zoom links and everything else like that, as you said, Rick, everything happens for a reason. Everything is divine timing. And what do we learn from the chaos? Everything that happens, we're going to learn from it. And nature and breath work. And next time I ask Rick to go and walk out in the grass with his shoes off, I'm going to ask him to send me a photograph. And next time I ask you to do your breath work or something, I'm going to ask for photographs now. So now I know that. But yes, it is. It's synchronicity, and it's all about really embodying the energies that we have around us. And this is what I keep saying. This is what I love about the Hit Talks, is that everything just flows, and the conversation that flows coming through. And the people, you know, the people that are put into Hit Talks, it's not kind of divinely planned. Sorry, it is divinely planned. It's not strategically planned that these people have to speak at a certain time together. It is just it's divine, and it works. And so again, I want to thank every single one of you that's here as a speaker, and I also want to thank every single one of you that's here live, and the people that are watching the replay. Which takes me on to our next speaker that I'd like to say thank you to as well, because she's doing some amazing things in the world. And as well as being by herself currently, we've got her, she's from Austin in Texas, but she is currently in Tulum in Mexico, which is a place that I absolutely love. It's Veronica and I were over there in November. So after being with Rick and Sanjeev and Amita, we then traveled over to Tulum and spent some time in Tulum, and it was absolutely fantastic. But she's doing some amazing things in the world as far as being an architect that really, really, really wants to make a difference with Mother Earth, and really wants to make a difference with a new era and looking after the next generation. So Tanya, I'd like to thank you so much for being here. Share a little bit about yourself and what you do, but I'd like you to now have the floor for your 8-minute talk.
Thank you. Thank you to everyone for being present. And I really want to talk about being present today. How convenient. It's a very important part of life. Understand how to keep grounding ourselves. And imagine if there's this beautiful sky that is color. It's the sunset, and you can see different colors. You can see different shapes in the clouds, and then you touch with your feet. You can touch the water coming from the ocean, and then the wind, and immediately your brain goes into a worry. So everything that you had before, in that perfect image of being present and enjoying what Mother Earth is giving us, in 1 second you lose it, because the mind game and because our inability to stay present. And I just want to share part of my story lately that it's keeping me grounded all the time. And I really have to say that I resonate with all the people who is helping the environment and helping nature and helping everything that is around ourselves all the time. Because we need to honor it, because nature is the #1 reason why we could, if we choose to, stay grounded and stay present. If we allow the elements to speak to us, the elements such as wind, such the elements of the earth, and all the elements that our native cultures talk about, and everything that they teach us, and everything that we are aware of when we are born, just when we are just little tiny human beings in this earth, sharing with all this humanity that is here for a reason. And I believe that one of the reasons is to protect the earth and protect the planet, and to connect with each other and connect with the universe in general. So this is one of the reasons I decided to study architecture, and then went to directly the sustainable part of architecture, architecture, which was helping me to understand different ideas as eco-technologies, diversity on how do you build in honoring the earth. In Tulum, where my main goal and the goal of my company and my partner is to treat the land as sacred, because we've been thought that we are individuals that in this earth, we came with that DNA coding that we are here to protect the earth. The same way that we care about babies, the same way that we are 100% in tune with that energy of care and protectiveness, and our bodies as a representation of the body of the big planet. So I have to say that when I decided to go to the sustainability pattern, I knew it. It was something within myself that was asking for that. And it's when the time started to present to me to start building and designing, I knew for a fact that I wanted to create something that will honor the land. And that's what we've been doing in Tulum, saving as many trees as possible, honoring the water, because as you know, Tulum has many underground systems of they call it the biggest river in the entire world that is underground, because definitely you cannot have it above the ground. It's the creation of all these sacred tunnels and water connections with the cenotes, and all of that happened to be the hub of sacred civilizations that were here teaching us. And I still believe that it's a complete advanced civilization that is there all the time, looking into contacting us through nature or through any other forms of contact, through dreams. We have many other tools, as you were saying before, that is so important that we are aware that we have and we start using it. But going back to my previous comment, how are we going to use it if at the end we need to remain present, to be able to be aware on the fact that they are tools for us, they are given as a free, they are part of nature. So I want to say that my previous in my recent conversation here with Vicky and Vero, I was sharing that I'm a new mom, and being a new mom, I'm having a home birth and having everything to do around that sacred space to giving birth to a new human being and welcoming to this earth, and make sure that I do everything that I can to hold the space for this amazing human being. I went into different trainings. Either is breath work, is either earthing, connection with earth, everything that could help me to stay focused and to stay present, because obviously I wanted to have a natural birth, no medications and anything that could just interfere with the rhythm, because I'm really, really aware of the natural rhythms of life as well. And I discovered that it's really a symphony. It's everything is around how you want to navigate in life as a melody. Everything is rhythm. And staying present in life has to do also with how connected you are with the rhythm in your heart. Because if you can connect with your heart and listen to everything that is around your head, your body, your spirit, your life, then it's easier that you can just really let go of the noise. Because that's what we are listening now and saying, well, the chaos, and obviously being by myself with a newborn is a lot of chaos, believe me. And I swear that I have these techniques here and a sleep training and everything that has to do with become the best parent possible. But at the end of the day, this is life. It's part of a circus because we're in this earth with all these factors hitting us, and social systems, economical systems, political conversations, and well, it's a full noise in our head. And I follow different masters and I follow different teachers that they have as a first pillar of connectivity with the rest of the world, being present as a form of you being in the simple state of mind and in the simple connection with everything that is already given to us, Mother Earth. And that we should and are here as a part of a destiny to preserve it. And this is the way I want to say, we are warriors of this earth. And we are warriors of our humanity, and we are warriors with everything that is around us. I believe every day it's a huge teaching if you want to observe it, because you can have a walk and have two different walks. You can have a walk and listen to the birds and see maybe a hummingbird going around and flowers and be present. Or you can have the other walk, which is a walk in your head with several judgments, with several heavy hearts, or whatever it is that we are humans. There are emotions that we need to understand, reconcile, and most of it we need to give it the space, because after recognizing those emotions, definitely it comes the growth, right? So it's important that we do our work, because we're in this earth to be present, to expand, present to develop ourselves to a higher conscious. Why is this bothering me? Okay, let me be present and go deep into understanding why is this bothering me and how do I connect with a better solution. So I say that having our basic needs covered also, which is very important, because we're in the middle of a pandemic and no one has the needs covered right now. Either if it's emotional, even if it's financial, even if it's in the tribes, in the indigenous tribes, is safety, is many things happening around the world. And obviously we are really talking from a place of privilege at this point, and we need to be very conscious about what is the life that we want to live through the consciousness, and understanding also what is our duty to help the other people that are not in such a life of privilege. And I have to say my blessings to all these brothers and sisters from all the Americas and all around the world that right now need all the blessings and all the good energy, and we all are here together. So kindness, consciousness, and all of this is only possible if we land in the grounding, land in the present, and connect with our hearts. So thank you so much for this opportunity to talk to you and to share what is in my heart. Remember, staying in the present, you can connect with yourself, and from that place, you can make a positive impact in humanity and to the world.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And togetherness. It's all about doing things together. It's all about, you know, when we live together, and when I say we live together, we don't mean to live in each other's houses, but when we live in each other's hearts and we live in the energy together, and we are there spreading hope, we are there spreading inspiration, we are there looking to transform not just our lives, but the lives of others and of Mother Earth. And you know, one thing that I really love about everyone that is part of Hit Talks is their heart of wanting to transform. And it's not just so much, you know, I'd invite you to ask yourself this question as well, because when we transform, yes, it's absolutely amazing, but what are we transforming for? So if I ask myself this question, that the work that I'm doing, I'm transforming myself for the next generation. I'm transforming myself for all the generations that are coming. It's a ripple effect. So when we start doing this transformation, when we start working with inspirational people, when we start being together in groups of inspirational people looking to transform, then the energy is just, as I say, it's just a ripple effect. And that's again, as I said, as I love using the word, that is when magic happens. And when we talk about magic, we talk about creating, and we talk about together is better. And this is why I decided that the next speaker that I really want to be part of this episode is somebody that's very, very close to my heart. And we've been together for many, 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 many years. And we do everything together. We've been together for many lives. I think it must be about 64 lives or something. I don't know. You know, we can read each other's minds. We know when somebody's talking about us. And, you know, you would think that it's weird, but it's magical. And I'll use the word as magical. She is so big at making sure that people work together, okay? Her motto is together is better. And everything that we do together is all about togetherness. And this is why we decided that Hit Talks has been a massive phenomenon, and so many people want to get involved, so many people are getting involved. To say there's lots of things going on behind the scenes that I'm not going to say working, because I love to be, but I am putting in a lot of let's say energy. That's a good word. So a lot of energy on the screen, a lot of energy behind the scenes for magic to be able to happen. And one of these magical creations is about the Hit Talks, is that we are going to be creating a new platform, and this new platform is going to be Hit Talks in Spanish. Hit Talks Español. So Espanol. Espanol. So again, it's togetherness. It is togetherness. It's bringing this concept of 8 people, 8 minutes, speaking from the heart, polarity, 4 women, 4 men. I'm speaking Spanish anyway, or I'm learning Spanish anyway. So any of you here that knows anybody in the Spanish community that wants to be involved in this, I know we've got a huge amount of people already signed up for this when we do go live. But again, you have our details, so please do join us. And I would like to give 8 minutes of true inspiration to my friend and business partner, Veronica Sosa. You may now have the floor, my love.
Yes, please, Veronica Sosa. Veronica Sosa, you start speaking like blah, 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 and you're like, Veronica, hello. Well, it's really synchronicity, what is happening, about talking about chaos and about all the transformation, right? Because I was in one of my circles in Spanish that it lasts just 1 hour and a half. But obviously it was just a little bit delayed because Spanish people, not me because I'm like Belgium Spanish, but some of us, we got in our culture, when you say 50 minutes is like 20 or 30 or something like that, but it's in our culture and it's okay, it's fine for that. And that brings me to the time that we went to Tulum with Vicky, and I was with her and we said, oh, let's go to the cenotes, amazing. And I said, okay, let's go. 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, the guy have to come and pick us up. So we got up, we got ready, and we wanted to go. 9 o'clock, we were outside just like. So Vicky said, Veronica, it's 9:05. You think that's normal? Something happened? I said, Vicky, don't worry, it will come. 9:10, and she was like, can you call him please, because 20, 30, and I think it was an hour later that he came and said, oh, there was a queue, there was a problem. I'm saying this because I'm Venezuelan and I'm proud of being Venezuelan. And one of the things that changed my mind and transformed my life, and I knew about the chaos that I was living, which is not for us actually, it was to come here and see that everybody's on time and everybody's rushing and everybody's just like, But I realized that was giving importance and respect to the other person. So you see the difference of culture, right? You see the amazingness of each individual. I'm talking about this because chaos, after me being, 1 hour and a half, and then it was 8 o'clock and I was supposed to be talking at 8 o'clock. Then I was here and everybody we were in the perfect time. So you see how it is. So why we are all the time just thinking that it should be like this and it should be like that? I should speak from my heart. And when a Venezuelan woman come to live into Belgium, you feel, or as I felt in that time, really lost. I felt with my heart broken, even though I was in love with a Belgian man, and I am, don't take me wrong. We've been together for 18 years, and I came here to live 10 years ago. And it was when I touched rock bottom. I don't know if one of you can feel that difference of culture. I could see that it rains almost every day. I could see that the people walk in the street raining, and I was judging why people do that. How can that be that possible? And I was in the superficial level of just being judgmental. I was not connected to myself. I was not connected to the greatness of making the difference. Being both cultures is quite all right, because that's the way we change the world. First, changing ourselves. I remember that my husband, and it's really private this, but I'm going to share it here in the circle. He used to come here in the house and said, Veronica, aren't you going to take a shower again? Please, look at yourself. And I couldn't even bother because I didn't feel the willingness of doing anything. I was completely disconnected. I would like you all, please, to join me and touch with the right hand your heart. And feel your heart. Can you feel it? I never stop in that time to listen to my heart. Tanya was speaking about the rhythm of life, about the rhythm of our heart. In that time, I was totally disconnected from the rhythm of my heart. So I decided to look for a solution. So I called my dad, who is a doctor, and I said to him, Dad, I'm suffering so much. I can't stand it. I can barely stand it. I don't want to take a shower. I don't want to eat. I don't want to do anything. My life is terrible. And my daughter was 2 years old, crying all the time, obviously, because she didn't feel comfortable around me. So my dad said, okay, go to a doctor. Let's see what's happening to you. So I went to the doctor and I said, Dad, the doctor recommended me to take the half of this pill. And he said, if you take that, you're going to take it forever. So please try to do something that you love. I look, I search. And then I found something like personal development. Be the change you want to be in the world. And all these messages. Perfect synchronicity, but I didn't know at the time. So yes, I went to my first event and I sat down and looked at the speaker telling you from the bottom of their heart, really connected, that you can do whatever you want to do. If you connect to yourself, you know who you are. So I fell in love in that moment. I don't know if you have been there, but I have been in that position to be like, oh my God, I want to feel like that person. I want to be there. And it's not about how much money you can make, but the feeling of being alive, the feeling of talking to each other and connect and laugh and being maybe childish. I miss that feeling. Because when you're a grown-up, when you're 47, I'm supposed to be really serious. Tell Valerie here how many times I have invited her in the middle of the stage to dance with me, and she's like, oh, Veronica, please, no. I say, yes, we have to enjoy life. So since that time, I start my path. Obviously, I started it many years ago. But that was my breaking point, one of the biggest, when God made sure that you listen to him and say, hello, you are repeating patterns. Can you look at this one? So I was aware. So I started walking into my awakening. I started reading. I don't know how many of you were so happy and interested about, finding out so many beautiful things from the world and how your emotions, your mindset, your body, your spirituality, and as well your vibration make what you are, a perfect human being. So when you are connected to yourself, when you honor yourself, even when you are in chaos, because that's the other thing that it is. When you have a child, everybody said to you, congratulations, it's amazing. And then the first 3 months, you are going crazy, feeding and not sleeping. I respect so much the single mothers. Yes, when you connect to yourself, you can give love. And you understand that you can reach success. But what is success for you? And I want you to think about it. What is success for you? Success is feeling alive. Success is feeling love. Success is being loved. Success is breathing. Success is touching your heart and feeling that heart, bumping that heart, that blood around you. Since 7 years ago, I create She because of the need of somebody to help me. But I help myself looking out, reaching out. How many of you are afraid to say, help me? So I look for that help. And I know here there is many people who have helped me in several occasions. And I thank you for that. So She, Seminar for Hispanic Entrepreneurs, was born because of that, because of the need of Veronica being, thank you, being a South American that we like dancing and partying in a place that nobody wants to dance. So I had a purpose. My purpose is making people happy. Myself, of course. Together, dancing the rhythm of happiness and success. There is one say in the UN that is really important for everybody, and is no one is left behind. Make sure that the person next to you is not left behind. Thank you.
Thank you, my love. Dancing from the rhythm of success. Dancing from the rhythm of success. That is something that we all should do, and having the fun as well. And that's the key thing, is fun. How often do we have fun in life and in business as an entrepreneur? How often do we actually bring out our inner child? You know, if you've got children, you know, how often do you go skipping down the road and dancing down the road with them? You know, it's because, you know, again, we have, as humans, we have these masks, we have these fears of being judged by the outside world. You know, I've got a 16-year-old daughter, and as I decide to start skipping through town, she's like, Mummy, stop it. Mummy, stop it. Everyone is looking at you. And so then that gets me to my inner child a little bit more, and I start going, well, stop, you know, and really start. And she's like, will you stop it? Otherwise, I'm not coming into town with you. And, you know, this is the thing that I see, is that the more fun that we can bring in just to, you know, to our own bodies and our surroundings and our family and into our business. And I just want to quickly share this, but I had an immigration company, and it was, you know, we were with prime ministers of all over the world and lots of high-powered people. And my business partner used to say, Vicky, you've got to stop having fun at these events. And I was like, sorry? He said, this is serious business. And you can imagine he's no longer a business partner. But, you know, this is serious business. And I'm like, but I'm connecting with these people. But yeah, it's all, you know, this is, you know, and so, you know, where I'm coming from is that it's about connection. It's about, you know, touching people from their hearts. It's about connecting to them. It's actually, you know, just being raw and real, and, you know, without having to have a mask on. And sometimes we have masks on because we're fearful of being judged, and we're feared from the outside world. So I love the ending of this episode of Hit Talks, talking about fun, talking about, you know, bringing out our inner child. And when I actually think about everything that we've spoken about in Hit Talks today, even from you know, from coffee to, you know, connections to no competition to togetherness, and so many different things which we're putting together for programs for people as far as Hit Talks is concerned now. But I know there's a lot of people on the line here live, and I know there's a lot of people watching the replay that have been invited to Hit Talks as well. And it's for everyone to get a feeling about what this is. This is a community. Hit Talks is a community. It is getting bigger. There is so much more things that are happening, which I keep saying I want to share with you, but you'll have to wait till the next episode. But it's getting bigger. It's a community. It's about together is better. It's about hope. It's about inspiration. It's about transformation. And it's about really making a difference in the world. So I would like to thank every single person that is here on live. I'd like to thank every single person that is watching the replay of this episode. And I would like to thank every single person that is here as a speaker and the team behind the scenes. And I would also like to invite you to the next episode of Hit Talks. The next episode of Hit Talks is again on a very powerful, energetic day, and it's on the 14th of August. Please join us on this next episode of the 14th of August, where hopefully I'll be able to share some more information about what is going on with Hit Talks in the future then. But again, from the bottom of my heart and the bottom of the heart of everyone at Team Talks, thank you very much for being on this episode, and we look forward to seeing you on the next episode.